So I will be talking about bridging the communication gap between and among the various stakeholders. So this includes the scientists, communicators, researchers, and the general public. Before we get into details of bridging the gap, it is also important to learn what science communication is, who our stakeholders are, before we tailor the messages and bridge the gap. So when we look at science communication, it literally incorporates various activities that connect science and the public. So the public is wide. As we delve on the other that we've mentioned, the public includes also every one of us that is here. So science communication aims at informing the public about scientific findings. I think we've been well informed about the findings. Someone a few minutes ago was sharing about the findings on one of the projects and research activities that they were conducting. Then it also aims at raising awareness and interest in science. So there are times that you just need to raise awareness on a particular topic or subjects and also help or encourage people to develop interest in science. It also influences people's attitude and behavior. It informs public policy and engages communities to address societal problems. So some of the problems could be that they need science solutions. Generally, science communication refers to settings in which audiences that are not experts in science topics that are being discussed. So sometimes it could be non-science experts. Sometimes it could be science and science experts sharing various information. It could be through journals. It could be through other discussions. So in this science communication, journalism and health communication is also key. And science has a political, moral, and legal implications. Science communication can help bridge the gaps between the stakeholders in policy, industry, and civil society. So, in science communication, we need to know who our audiences are. When we know who our audiences are, we will be able to tailor the messages according to that audience group, the target audience group, and then we will know the channels that we need to use in order to get to them and to get the message across to them. And then at the end of the day, we will be able to achieve our intended goals. I'll briefly just talk about who a stakeholder is. I know we may know, because I know most of us are experts, but maybe there could be one or two persons that may just need to refresh their mind. So a stakeholder is any person or organization who can be positively or negatively impacted by or cause an impact or actions on a project, strategy, or organizations. These stakeholders, they have the right to be informed, they have the right to be safe, and they also have the right to make informed decisions. And then briefly, we'll talk about who a scientist and a researcher is. I know they are experts here, but I'm trying to break it down to the simplest form as I can. A scientist is someone who systematically gathers and uses research and evidence to make suggestions and test them to gain and share understanding and knowledge. And there are various classes, or I would say they are geologists, there could be people that are in medicine, there could be people that are in social sciences, there could be people that are in the food industry or food sector. They may conduct, for the researchers, they may conduct experiment, analyze data, or review existing literature to gain insights into their subject of study. I think during our ongoing conference, we've had a number of people speak about the research activities that they are conducting and the new findings that they are coming up with. So, the scientists can further be defined on how they go about this, what they are seeking to understand, or where they need to apply this science. Do they want to apply it in the food industry? Do they want to apply it in any other industry? Then we will talk about a communicator, who is a person that is able to convey, communicate, and exchange information, news, policy to the public, ideas, especially one who is eloquent and skilled. We can all communicate, but there's another way of communication. That is why we need people that are really qualified and that do understand the communication skills for them to be able to communicate. And a public, generally this is the ordinary people in general. This can be in a community, they can be in a country, society to say. And when it comes to science communication, there are different ways that we are able to communicate. For a researcher, their news will be, they'll take their news a little bit slow in terms of releasing information. But when it comes to the general public, we will not talk about how gene modification was done in the lab. That would not be so much of their interest. They want to know the outcome, what happened, because they may deem it to be, maybe for lack of a better term, a little bit boring to start understanding how a gene was moved from one species into another species. But when we tell them this is a product, for example, that has been genetically modified, the genetic modification, of course, was done in the lab without going into details of how it was done, then we'll be able to satisfy their curiosity. So the other picture is just to depict how communication can be done through writings, through workshops, through programs. And science communication, there's need to research and know the news sources and simplify scientific jargon for the general public to understand what is being reported. I think this has been emphasized from the time that we had the pre-conference, but it is one of the critical areas, one of the key areas that will help us achieve effective communication when we break down the jargon, because normally science has a lot of jargon that makes it a little bit difficult even for the media at times to report. So we look at health, environment, agriculture, biotechnology as some of the key science areas for reporting. And then we can use stories, that is by showing and demonstrating to the people how science research improve or can improve lives. I think we had a few discussions where we were informed about how science is able to improve our lives. Then reporting on scientific must be conducted to enable people to make informed decisions in their lives. So as we report on science matters and science-related topics, they help the general public to make informed decisions, whether they want to do certain things or not to do certain things, or to be involved. There is a phrase that the level to which certain issues are highlighted and emphasized in the media gives importance to those issues, and in turn influence how the public think about such issues. So this is a challenge to us communicators and to the journalists to report and influence science issues and matters so that we can have people be able to talk about these issues and also understand them. Then one critical area that we cannot leave out that is very key as we do our communication in science is the media. The media is important because it does influence people's perceptions, attitudes, behaviors, including what people can buy, what they can eat. Therefore, the media plays a very important role in public health. They are the people's watchdog. They literally watch and then inform the people on what is happening around the country and around the world. The media needs accurate information provided timely by the sources or experts for them to effectively inform and educate the public. It is a challenge, it's a call for researchers, scientists, and communicators to ensure that information is provided at the right time, that is correct information, accurate information, and we simplify it as much as we can. We provide it to the media so that we help them in terms of informing the audience, the public, so that they make the right decisions. Then the media, science journalists like other reporters, need to believe that they have a professional, ethical, social responsibility to effectively cover many aspects of science and technology. Therefore, writing science articles requires that the journalists are ethical and they take social responsibility into consideration. They should also be able to balance their stories and also tell them in an interesting manner. I think one of the issues that we've come across is that science stories are boring. Science stories may not make it to the front page. But if we tell them in an interesting manner, I'm sure we will be able to get to the people. What are the challenges then that we come across? They've been spoken about. I'll just read them through them because I think they're been spoken about by the previous speakers. We have misinformation. We have disinformation. Lack of understanding of new technologies, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that now we are facing. Because if they do not understand the new challenges, even the media, if it doesn't understand the new challenges, they will not report effectively and efficiently. Then the negative perceptions, the fake news, that is also slowing down the progress that has been made or is being made in terms of achieving effective communication. The jargons, the science jargons, terminologies, and then the stories not being given prominence as they are deemed to lack human interest. So we need, as communicators and also journalists, to challenge even these scientists to give us stories. And when we get these stories, let's make them as interesting as we can. Of course, not taking away the scientific aspect that they may have, so that we have them at the front page. I know some stories at times they've got to the front page because we've had policymakers speak about them. I know back in my country we've had stories of science making it to the front page. We've had our vice president speak about GMOs, assuring the people of the safety. And I know if we get the policymakers, if we get the people that are in authority to talk about some of these aspects, we will be able to get our stories to the front page. The anti-technology activists, I think almost every other country that I've had an interaction with, they're facing the same. We have them back home again, and it's a challenge. But we turn that challenge into a positive challenge because we invite them as part of our stakeholders when we have meetings, so that they're able to know what we are discussing and they also know what we do. The myths, the misconceptions still remain as challenges. Okay, challenges. Bridging the gap, how are we then going to bridge the gap, the communication gap? So this encompasses understanding and addressing the hurdles that hinder effective communication between individuals and groups. There is need to recognize the communication breakdown. We need to find out where is it that we have a communication down. What is causing that communication breakdown? If we have a tap leaking somewhere or a pipe leaking, we just clean up, we'll find it leaking even the following day. We need to mend there. So if we recognize where we have that breakdown and work on it, then we will be able to achieve our intended goals. We need to tailor our messages to suit the target audiences so that they are able to understand, and that we need to understand our audiences. The way we are going to talk to experts in science is different from the way we are going to talk to students. It's different from the way we're going to talk to children. It's different from the way we're going to talk to marketeers. So when we map out our stakeholders, then we develop specific messages targeted to those stakeholders. We need to clarify our language, avoid the jargons. I think we've spoken about that. And we need to have meetings that are able to provide feedback. Because at the end of the day, if we are just going to provide information without getting feedback, we'll just be talking to ourselves. People may not be able to understand or to know certain things, but we need them to provide feedback. When we have that two-way kind of communication, we'll be able to address, because sometimes when we bring people together, we allow them to ask questions, we will be able to address their concerns. We also need to leverage on technology. We are moving in a digital world, and I think things are happening faster than quickly. So if we use certain social media platforms, we use short video calls and chat groups, we will be able to attract or get to a larger community. People are so busy nowadays, and to take them through for 3, 4 days, 5 days to talk to them about science communication alone, if it's the policymakers, you hit the hole. So you need to take them, to give them short, concise messages. Then we need to encourage open dialogue, create an environment where people will feel comfortable, where everyone will be able to talk, where everyone will know that even when I speak here, there's nowhere that I'm going to be taken. Sometimes people get scared to speak because they don't know the kind of environment they are in. So if you assure them that whatever we're discussing here or we are talking about remains here and we are championing a good cause, they will be free to speak. Sometimes they get scared because they feel they'll be misquoted if the media is there. But I think it's time that scientists, researchers, communicators came to the light that journalists do not always misquote. Of course, there are instances that they've done that, but we need to give them that second chance to see how we can work with them. We need to address misinformation. We check the facts and also be transparent in our communication. We need to collaborate with journalists and the educators, because we know journalists and the educators, they are able to reach a wider audience. We need to humanize the science story. We need to focus on public engagement. We also need to understand the audience that we're working in, the cultural values, the societal values, and be sensitive to it. Because if we are not sensitive, we may not communicate effectively, as we may not be able to address certain issues. And we have to make it fun. Of course, with communicating the messages clearly. In conclusion, bridging the gap in science communication is very important in nurturing a well-informed society that can engage with and contribute to scientific dialogue. Ensuring clear, accessible, and relevant scientific information reach diverse audiences can help them make informed decisions. Collaboration among scientists, educators, and communicators are key in developing effective strategies that address the needs and interests of various communities. Additionally, the media and journalists must strive to report the facts and truth as they are, against their personal and unverified opinions. Thank you very much.